the government, any government at the time, would have to be thinking. And, you know, I mean, I was a councillor here in Hackney when allegations were made from Norway that Hackney Council is paying thousands to people to go move to Dagenham, minority ethnic people to move and live in Dagenham. And at that time, that was not true at all. But just to say that the right-wing press was really more behind pushing this anti-immigrant agenda. And all of a sudden, the Tories decided to say, we want to create a hostile environment for these people. I don't think they thought about it. So from 2012, the Immigration Act 2012 that came into force on the 9th of July, amongst other things, it brought back the 7-year rule. Do we know what the 7-year rule is? That is, if a child is born in this country and they've stayed here for 7 years, the formative age, then they're allowed to stay, they're allowed to remain. That rule was brought back. But guess what? Another thing was added to it, namely that they have to show that they cannot live in their countries of origin. So their countries of origin being where their parents came from originally. Now imagine the child born here, 7 years, happily in the nursery, past nursery, going to school and having that nice jolly time, to be told that they have to go back to Ghana, Nigeria, India, wherever, where they have never been, simply because that is where their parents came from. And that is how the Windrush generations upon generations, started having the bite. But it wasn't till 2014, when the 2014 Immigration Act came to force. The reason I'm going step by step is so that we see, because between 2010, say in the last 10 years, we've seen more changes in the immigration rules than the previous 50 years. So we had the Immigration Act 1947, we had 1971, we had 2006. So you see how, but between 2010 to 2000 and to present, we've had the 12, 14, 16, and just imagine how, you know, they kept coming. So the one that actually brought us this misery, this trouble, is 2014, is it not? When people were required to produce documents, as we've heard from Michael. You had to provide, you know, if you didn't have a British passport, if you didn't have some kind of identification paper that had been given by the Home Office to you, saying that you are a British citizen, then you were in big trouble. People started losing their jobs. People could not go to hospitals anymore because you were asked to provide evidence of something. And sadly, you know, it affected the Windrush community much more, because when you have taken a place like home and you're not even bothered to say, let me get a passport, let me get this, then what before you, what comes after you? It is that you will be treated, when they decided to make the place hostile, you'll be treated as an alien. And it is so painful that people who have actually worked and contributed will be told, you have to stop working, you're not entitled to this anymore. And people are deciding on this and laughing at the same time. I've had the pleasure and misfortune to represent a few people with some very sad experiences. As recently as today, I've successfully stopped a deportation of a man who is disabled. The wife is blind. They have a 12-year-old daughter who is the one that does everything for them. This man was to be deported to Ivory Coast. Had to go to the start judicial review proceedings. Now, what was this man's crime? In 2006, he was caught working somewhere with documents that did not belong to him. That is why he is going to be deported. And his disabled wife, who is a British citizen, who is blind, to stay here, and the daughter, who is 12, to continue to look after them. So that is how hostile it is. Last week, a lady also called me that I've been supporting. She's pregnant, she's having difficulty with her pregnancy, and she called me crying. I was going to my branch meeting, and she said, my appointment for tomorrow has been cancelled. I said, why? Because I just had a call from the hospital saying that if I don't come with my anything to show that I have lived to stay in this country, then I can't see, they can't see me. I said, but hang on, you're an asylum seeker. You've got an appeal pending. He said, I told them, but they said they can't be bothered. They need to see that I have got papers to stay in this country. I said, surely that's not what the law said. And the following morning, I went straight on to this hospital, got them, and then she had her appointment. 2-3 months behind, it was a similar case of somebody who stayed here with a father who came here ages ago, contributed, retired, and died. This lady stayed with stayed with him until she became grown up and so on, had her own children, and everything was known. She hasn't sought to regularize herself too, but she was bundled up once. She's married, and bundled up one day and said, well, you haven't got papers to be in this country, you have to go. She was detained. The husband had a hospital appointment. That was cancelled. The poor man went to the detention center to see this woman, put through an interview for hours upon hours. Over 550 questions were asked of them. They had 6 of those questions wrong, and they said, okay, on that basis, you have to go back to your country of origin. And because such a decision, you cannot appeal it, but they say that, well, you got the right of appeal, but that right of appeal doesn't stop removal. They booked the plane and everything. So what I did, I just went to the High Court, got an injunction, and stopped that removal. And the appeal came up 2 weeks after, and we were successful. So it tells you another thing to say how it just should say how when they took out the appeal right, which is one of the things that the changes after 2012 brought, they took out most of the appeal rights for people. So if they decide that you have to leave, you go. They'll tell you that, well, you can appeal, but you can only appeal when you're out of the country. And how many people succeed when they're out of the country? It's so difficult. Anyway, they do that, and then they make it purposely strong that you can appeal out of the country, and even if we make a decision to remove you, a notice of appeal lodged in the United Kingdom cannot stop it, so you'll be removed anyway. So what I'm trying to draw at this point is that we must remain extremely vigilant, because the immigration, they've got targets. In the past 5-6 years, more than 77,000 people have been removed from the United Kingdom, more than half of who were not supposed to be removed from the United Kingdom. The Windrush case in particular keeps coming back, and as I said, I was just going to talk about it, really practical examples. And these examples that I've given, 2 of them, belong to that generation. And the last example that I'm going to give is about a lady put in detention, and then removal direction said she was very unwell, lying in her room and so on, and the security people went into her room. She was stark naked. She was being pulled out of her room. There were 10 officers, security people. 5 of them were women, 5 of them were men. They were filming the whole thing. She was naked, being dragged around. People were screaming down in Yasud. You can't do that, but this is a grown-up woman, really grown-up, senior citizen, was being dragged naked because they wanted to force her removal. So the treatment that these people have contributed so much in our society are being given at this point in time is something that I must commend the journalists and the work of everybody who've been doing to ensure that this thing comes to limelight and we take it very seriously and fight against it. The last point, really last point, is that we remain the only country in the developed world where immigrants, people are being detained indefinitely because of their immigration status. At least if you're a criminal, if you commit a criminal offense and you're sentenced to 3 months, you know that after 3 months you come out. But there are people in the detention centers who have been there for years. They don't even know what the future holds. I'll stop there.
Very glad to be able to introduce our colleagues in the introduction, Diane Abbott, who is our very own MP, as well as being the Shadow Home Secretary and responsible, I believe, for Labour's future policy in this area. So we very much hope, Diane, that you'll be able to give us a glimpse of a future which is going to be a lot better than the current position.
Thank you. I've got 5 minutes and a very strict chair, so I'm going to race through. And I want to talk about how we came to the position that we came to in relation to the hostile environment. I'm going to explain that the hostile environment, we're talking about 2012 and 2014, but there were other aspects of immigration policy before that which helped to create a hostile environment. And then finally I'm going to say what I would do when I'm Home Secretary.